Our next speaker is Adam Wooldridge, the CEO of Cobre Limited.
Thank you. Cobre have a belt-scale exploration and development opportunity in the Kalahari Copper Belt of Botswana. Now, if you look at the Kalahari Copper Belt a few years ago, it was an exciting exploration play. It's long been a favorite of the USGS for undiscovered sedimentary copper deposits. But it's really been in the last 2 years that we've seen the belt change into a producing district. And this is exemplified with Kumaka's sale to MMG towards the end of last year for around $2 billion, but also by the speed at which the Mateo production hub went into production, which in itself is a testament to Botswana as a mining jurisdiction. Now, despite being a producing copper district, the Kalahari Copper Belt remains remarkably unexplored. I'd like to draw your attention to the graph on the left. There are 3 key take-homes in this graph. The first one, there's plenty of copper in the Kalahari Copper Belt. We have over 7 million tons of contained copper under resource through the various deposits. The second key aspect is almost all of these deposits occur in areas where the cover is relatively thin. If you look at the rest of the belt, over 40% of the belt remains unexplored where you have more than 40 meters of cover. Now, if you look at the map on the left-hand side of the slide, you'll see an important correlation here. Green dots are the known deposits, and these all occur in areas with relatively thin cover. Basically, what you're looking at is a picture where the deposits which were easiest to discover have been found. Now, if you were looking at a sedimentary copper basin, you would traditionally look towards the margins of the basin. You wouldn't look in the middle of the basin. Margins are where you get your best fluid flow. That's where you get your giant deposits. At Cobre, from the outset, we picked our license package on the margins of the belt, and we made sure we had a dominant position on both northern and southern margins of the Kalahari Copper Belt. We also have a very large land holding along strike from MMG's production facility. With such a large land holding, we needed to come up with a strategy, and we've really gone with a 3-pronged exploration and development strategy. I'll go into each one of these aspects in a little bit more detail in the following slides. But to start with, we think big exploration looking for tier 1s. And a lot of this has come out of the work we've done with BHP through the Explore program. We've been really honored and delighted to be part of the 2024 BHP Explore cohort. And this has really led us to look for specific types of trap sites where we believe the missing tier 1 deposits are. At the same time as this, we have a strategic drill program that really aims to satisfy a short to mid-term market. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail as well. And then finally, we have a development opportunity looking at our flagship Ngami project, and that looks at an in-situ copper recovery process. So starting with the tier 1s. If you look at the deposits in the Kalahari Copper Belt, almost all of them occur on fold limbs. Now, if you wanted to see where the bigger deposits are, you need to find the fold hinge zones. This is where one would expect the mineralization to be concentrated. It's much easier to find the fold limbs. They have a geochemical expression on surface. They're easy to spot in the geophysics. And this leads back to that early figure I showed. The easy deposits are what are being targeted, not necessarily the biggest. Ideally, you find these buried fold limb areas on the margins of the basin where you get your best fluid flow. That's where you're going to get your giant deposits. Now, we've had the privilege of pioneering both active and passive seismics. We've recently completed an active seismic survey. We've just been looking at preliminary data, and this is the technology we see is going to make a fundamental change to the way we target these trap sites. Suddenly you have the resolution to really map them out. and you also have the resolution to map out the feeder structures that are introducing the copper into the trap sites. Now, at the same time, we're doing this belt scale exploration program for Tier 1 trap sites. We also have our strategic programs. So this is really highlighted in our Okavango project. It's right next door to MMG's production facilities, and it has a very interesting stat. It actually includes almost 40% of the remaining prospective contact in this area, the prospective contact that has been unexplored. Now, it also has an interesting aspect. It has the same gravity signature that you see around Zone 5. Now, we use gravity to really define our districts. When you have the right gravity highs, it shows you that you've got intrabasinal highs. With gravity lows adjacent to it, this gives you the subbasins. You want to look at the margins between those two to find your best deposits. We have the same gravity signature as well as you see to the southwest. So we recently completed a diamond drilling program where we tested each of these contacts, and this was extremely successful in the fact that we were able to, we had copper intersections in almost in 3 of our holes. And most importantly, when you look at the copper intersections we had, you see a lot of vein-hosted mineralization, vein-hosted sulfides. Now, vein-hosted sulfides in the Kalahari Copper Belt typically occur when you're getting close to the higher grade deposits. So we see this as a huge upliftment in the value of this project area, and also a demonstration that our targeting methodology is working. This brings us to our third prong, if you like, and our flagship Ngami copper project. Now, we started drilling our Ngami project probably two to 3 years ago now, and almost from the get-go, we saw really anomalous copper intersections. We had several economic intersections as well. But the belt, in this part of the belt, you see a very different style of mineralization. We don't have the kind of vein-hosted sulfides that are illustrated in the previous slide. Over here, you get fine-grained chalcocite, and it's fracture-hosted. But what we also don't see is the chalcocite dropping to background values. The chalcocite continues for tens of kilometers, and we're running at grades of around 0.5% for between 5 and 30 meters width. So this started leading us down a pathway where not only were we looking for the high-grade zones, but could this be beneficiated as a large, moderate-grade target instead? To give you an idea of scale, we've modeled it up. This includes more than 17,000 meters of diamond drilling that's gone into this model, so it's a fairly robust estimate, and you have more than 100 million tons at 0.5% copper. Plenty of blue sky here as well, plenty of unexplored contact that hasn't been addressed at the same time. Now, what we went on was a journey to see if an alternate extraction method could work here, and it led us down a route of looking at in-situ copper recovery. If you want to make in-situ copper recovery work, you need very specific conditions. The first thing, your mineralization itself has to be leachable. Well, we're fortunate. All our mineralization is chalcocite, fine-grained and fracture-hosted. The second one, the mineralization actually has to occur below the water table. This immediately precludes most geological deposits. Your oxide zone is normally above the water table. We're in a Goldilocks zone here. Water table's at about 130 meters below the cover, so it allows us to actually inject in and recover into the mineralization itself. And then the last aspect, which is one of the most important, is having the right hydrogeology. And we've put a lot of work into this. To give you an idea of the scenario, what you have is an extensive fracture zone with impermeable layers on both sides, steeply dipping. So it's a natural channel for fluid flow. With this in mind, we started hydrogeological testing towards the end of last year, and we've expanded that program and actually just finished our last pump test last week. And what we've done here is to inject a large volume of water into the fracture zone and then model where the fluid flow goes using a series of monitoring wells on the side. And the key aspect here is determining how permeable the rock is and where the fluid flow goes. And we've been delighted to find that we have the right permeability for injection. And very importantly, fluid flow follows the mineralization. It doesn't escape laterally, and it doesn't escape vertically. It's very easy to control this. This is an idea of what it looks like in 3D. What you can see is very steeply dipping mineralization. The white stars are the monitoring wells, yellow stars are the injection wells in the image. You can see we've drilled into the fracture zone and we've been pumping water into it to see where it goes. Now, establishing that we can achieve this and that the hydrogeology gets checkbox, if you like, allows us to take the next steps in our journey. We've already completed some met work. We know we can recover the copper. We also know we can recover the silver. There's over 32 million ounces of silver in the target at the same time. You get the silver credit when you start adding salt to your leaching agent. So with this in mind, we started looking at engineering work. We've engaged Mets here in Perth to do the work for us. And we've already completed a gap analysis. We've just recently announced the results of a trade-off study. A trade-off study really confirms the pathway we're taking, with an in-situ copper recovery method as being the most favorable method for extraction. And this has led us into more advanced metallurgical test work. We're now trying to simulate the in-situ environment with leach box tests. With this in mind, this all feeds into a scoping study, an engineering scoping study, which we'll be finishing in the next month or so. And the scoping study will give us a financial model which will basically justify the process further. With a financial model in place, it puts us in a strong position to complete JORC drilling the rest of the resource, which then leads us into building a pilot study with acid to demonstrate the in-situ recoveries that we'll get, and that puts us on a development pathway. So, in summary, our investment opportunity includes a bulk-scale exploration package. It includes an opportunity for new Tier 1 discoveries. It includes an opportunity from short to mid-term windfalls through our strategic drill programs. And it also includes an opportunity for a low capex, low opex, environmentally friendly extraction process, which puts us on a development pathway. All of this is happening in Botswana, top-tier jurisdiction for mining, and backed by strong exploration teams both in Africa and here in Australia. I'd like to play out with a short video that just gives you an idea of our thinking behind our exploration projects, and particularly our in-situ copper recovery process. Thank you.